should we go towards the back side? Like, we'll go around this way.
Thank you so much for being here. It certainly has not been an easy year, and things just got so much harder for all of us. I know everyone here loves Colin. However, I also know that people may have very real concerns about themselves or people they live with or care for being exposed to COVID. We are all feeling immense grief, and many of us will look to embrace one another after the service. But if you're feeling uncomfortable and someone offers you a hug, please just gesture, and we will respect your wishes. I cannot emphasize enough that myself, my family, and especially Colin would never hold this against you. On the contrary, the time where everything other than Colin's legacy seems so trivial, I sincerely commend people that have the strength to keep safety in mind. I also wanted to let you know that we do have N95 masks available. They are free. If wearing one would make you more comfortable, don't hesitate to flag down Brad, the gentleman over there, and he will bring one to you. I know many people in this building are health professionals who are all too familiar with COVID precautions. And of course, Colin was a healthcare professional too. Working as a nurse has always been an extremely emotionally and physically taxing role. And this pandemic has taken an additional grueling toll on our nursing workforce, not just from the acute effects of the disease, but from the fear of infection, added workload, social isolation outside of work, and the monumental suffering and loss of life this disease has caused. I simply cannot imagine being asked to take on such a task. But when you and so many others were asked to do so, you said yes. But when Colin was asked to do so, he said yes. Thank you. The fact that Colin and so many others said yes helped hold our society together over the past year. I simply cannot express how grateful I am. However, there is so much more to Colin's life than the past year. For as long as I can remember, Colin met life with compassion, humor, perseverance, and most importantly, in my opinion, not giving a fuck what anyone thinks. I love my brother, Colin James Mulcahy, so stinking much. Can't thank you all enough for being here, both physically and virtually, to show the love and celebrate his wild life. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here this afternoon and for being here online. We truly can feel your presence. My name is Mary Claire Mulcahy, and I'm Colin's baby sister. When I was born, Colin was not pleased about having a baby sister until he learned that I was the perfect scapegoat for him. And I was absolutely fine with that if it meant I was able to hang out with him. So I grew up at Colin's heels, always trying to tag along with all of his shenanigans, although these often got me into loads of trouble, and many stories are ones that I cannot tell in public. I've always wanted to be just like Colin. I wanted to be as fearless as him, as I watched him go off jumps on his bike or try a new trick on his skateboard, and I admired the fact that he would always get up and go again, no matter how many times he fell. I always wanted to be as funny as him, as kids on the playground would gather around him as he made jokes and did impressions. And he always had a way of making me laugh when I was down, or even more so when I was mad at him and he wanted to get out of an argument. I always wanted to be as brave and as kind as him, as I watched him dedicate his life to helping and saving others as a nurse. I had the privilege of working with him at a memory care facility before he was a registered nurse, and he didn't just provide good care. He met his patients where they were at. He never judged them. He got to know their families, and he treated them with sincere dignity. But ability to care for others sprouted from his immense sensitivity. He felt everything in this world. He felt other people's pain, and he never allowed them to feel it on their own. This is a huge burden for any one person to carry, yet he carried it anyway. As I grew up, I realized the best way to be just like Colin was to be absolutely, completely, and unapologetically myself. To do that, I took the leap to attend law school to pursue my dream of becoming a lawyer. To which Colin responded, "Okay, don't be that much of yourself, because no self-respecting person would ever want to be a lawyer." The idea of a life without Colin in it is impossible to wrap my head around. But I found comfort in the idea that he's not really gone. The day Colin passed, the package arrived for him. And the next day we opened it, and it was this book. I have no idea what it is still. But I was in a haze of grief, and I opened it to a random page. And I just want to point out that all the other pages are crap, except for this one. It says, "And you stand on the other side, and you're completely free. Who's there? The Divine Mother welcoming you." That's the Bathsheba part of it. You have gone, and you have gotten the liberation, and then you are right here, chopping wood and carrying water. I have clung to the idea that this was Colin telling me that he's okay now, that he's safe, and that he's still with me. Colin really connected with the spiritual beliefs of indigenous people. He took a class on the subject during his time in college in Duluth, and he greatly enjoyed learning about indigenous tribes' cultures. My aunt, Raquel Garcia, has had the opportunity to observe and participate in some ceremonies with indigenous people, and is going to speak about these beliefs and how we can honor my brother and keep him alive within us forever.
First, I would like to acknowledge that the land that we stand on is the place where the Mississippi and the Minnesota rivers meet. Central to Dakota creation stories, we acknowledge the land to honor its people, to show respect and resist the erasing of the First Nations. We stand on the homeland of the Dakotas, and I thank them for allowing us to be here today. As we celebrate and remember Colin today, Paul and Trish wanted to root some of our thoughts in Native culture because Colin felt connected to it. We know that Colin was his own person, that he was sweet and a special soul, that he loved music and laughter, that he walked softly, that he looked for joy, that he cared about injustice and people, that he chose to be a caregiver to his community, and that he was unapologetically authentic. I practice ceremony with abuelas, or grandmothers from the Mexica southern tribes. And what they've been teaching me is to root into community, to slow down time, to live our values like sharing, practice communal ownership, to honor the land, to honor elements, to honor spirit and our elders. That they are teaching me to examine how Western thinking shapes us. Western language treats death as final. We say that he is gone now, or that he is now in a better place. The grandmothers would tell us that Colin has moved from how we understood him, his physical form, to his energy form, like an element. Our work now is to examine how Western relationship to death and resist the feeling that he is gone forever. And with intention to shift to staying in relationship with him through stories and songs and talking with him directly. With Colin, we can still share joy and sadness and resist talking about him in the past tense. Colin has moved into the spirit world like an elder. He is with us, and we can ask him for protection. can ask him for guidance, and we can ask him to walk with us. Colin, we know that you are here, and that you are here with us. We can work to see you in the four directions, where the sun rises or sets, and in the elements, in the wind, in the sun when it warms our cheek. We know that you are energy transforming and evolving, but that you are not gone. You are only gone when we stop being in relationship with you. How will you honor Colin? What will you do every day to keep him alive? Will you volunteer for a cause that he cared for? Will you sing a song that he loved? Will you say his name every day? Will you show kindness to a stranger? Will you protect the earth? Will you protect each other? You can inhale and whisper his name with your exhale several times a day. Colin. Say his name. Colin. You are grieving, and it may be difficult to know right now how this will happen for you. Keep your eyes of your heart open. The idea will come in time. I would like to offer some words from the local Dakota elder. Creator, fill us with light. Heal our community with light. Heal this family. Give us strength to understand and eyes to see. Teach us to walk soft on the soft earth with kindness, because we are relatives to all that live, to all that we see. Teach us to cultivate a soft and open heart. Wrap Colin in peace, and may our journeys be entwined with his for all time. Our grief is real. It is the weight of the love we have for you, Colin. Aho. Thank you.
Hi everyone. My name is Colin Mulcahy, and I am here to be the speaker for the dead for my little brother Colin. I'm going to leave my mask on so you can't all see the snot bubbles forming on my face this whole time. Colin had a unique outlook on life, and I think that can best be explained by his raccoon tattoo. For those who are unfamiliar, Colin had a tattoo on his arm of a raccoon skateboarding while also wearing a jetpack, because one mode of transportation simply wasn't enough. Now, many people would probably assume that a tattoo like that would be the result of one, let's say, enthusiastic decision after a very fun, misremembered night. Not for Colin. Colin decided he wanted that tattoo when he was 10 years old. And to be clear, he didn't get that tattoo when he was 10 years old. He had to wait till he was legally eligible to get a tattoo. So I like to think that that's one of the most carefully considered tattoos in history. And that's who Colin was. He was thoughtful, he was goofy, he was strange, he was hilarious, and everyone who knew him has countless stories that would feel unbelievable if they were told about anyone else. But as soon as you mentioned that it was Colin, the response is, yeah, that sounds about right. Colin had many career ambitions growing up. He wanted to be a bad guy, which meant that he would continue to drink out of sippy cups when he no longer needed them at restaurants. He wanted to be a pro wrestler. He even designed his wrestling outfit, which was his winter coat with a pair of tidy whities on his head. He wanted to be a barber. His one and only client was 3-year-old Mary. Mom quickly put an end to that dream after that happened. Among many other things. But when Colin found nursing, it was such a clear and perfect fit. I don't know that I've met anyone who was so ideally suited to their career and a career that was so attuned to a person's passions. Colin excelled at caring for and connecting to his patients, from his work at a memory care facility in college to his time as a trauma nurse at Regent's Hospital. I saw Colin's skills on full display when he took a leading role in caring for my grandparents as their health declined. Colin brought an aura of calm, competence, and compassion to everything he did with them, from transporting them to doctor's appointments, to helping them in and out of bed, to sitting and talking earnestly with them and kindly with them. Colin could do anything for them. I, on the other hand, brought very little to their care, except perhaps the ability to ease them back to sleep if they ever woke up concerned that they didn't know the difference between a zebra mussel and a quagga mussel. Rather, my role in caring for my grandmother at the end of her life was creating a schedule for who was caring for her and when. I always slept easiest on the nights when Colin was with her, because I knew that nothing could go wrong when she was in Colin's care. In hearing from many of Colin's colleagues since he passed, I have discovered that this was a sentiment shared by the medical community. Colin was born to be a nurse, and I am so proud of him for all the people he helped in so many ways. He is one of the strongest, bravest, kindest people that I have ever known. And Colin's death has left us with many feelings. Profound sadness in thinking of the future we won't have with him, great joy in reflecting on the past that we shared with him, a numbness and disbelief that this is how his story ends, and at least for me, anger. Anger that there are so many patients who won't know his compassion. Anger that as his big brother, I couldn't shield him from the pain that he felt. Anger that my sweet dog niece Bonnie won't get to sit on the couch with her dad anymore in her finest dress. Anger that so much of our present situation is the result of selfishness winning out over the desire to protect and care for the most vulnerable among us. The vulnerable that Colin dedicated his life to caring for. However, as much as I feel that anger, I won't let it win within me. Colin would not want it. Colin knew that in the face of pain, of suffering, of anguish, we could still care for others and make the world a better place. There was only one Colin in the world, but it would be a much kinder, gentler, goofier place if we could all be a little more like him. In closing, I'd like to leave you with some slightly paraphrased words from Bruce Springsteen. I will spare you all from my singing and attempts at a harmonica solo. Anyone who has attended a Mulcahy family Christmas pageant will tell you that this is the greatest act of kindness that I can bestow on you today. Well, they built the Titanic to be one of a kind, but many ships have ruled the seas. They built the Eiffel Tower to stand alone, but they could build another if they please. The Taj Mahal and the pyramids of Egypt are unique, I suppose, but when they built you, brother, they broke the mold. Now the world is filled with many wonders under the passing sun, and sometimes something comes along and you know it's for sure the only one. Like the Mona Lisa, the David, the Sistine Chapel, Jesus, Mary, and Joe. And when they built you, brother, they broke the mold. They say you can't take it with you, but I think that they're wrong. Because all I know is I woke up this morning and something big was gone. Gone into that dark ether where you're still young and kind and bold. Just like when they built you, brother, they broke the mold. Now your death is upon us and will return your ashes to the earth. I know that you will take comfort in knowing you've been roundly blessed and cursed. But love is a power stronger than death, just like the songs and stories told. And that's why when they built you, brother, they broke the mold. I love you so stinking much, Colin.
I've been down this road before. I remember every tree, every single blade of grass. special place for me. And I remember every town, and every hotel room, every song I ever sang on a guitar out of tune. I remember everything, things I can't forget. The way you turned and smiled on me on the night that we first met. And I remember every night your ocean eyes of blue. How I miss you in the morning light, like roses miss the dew. I've been down this road before, alone as I can be. Careful not to let my past go sneaking up on me. Got no future in my happiness, the regrets are very few. Sometimes a little tenderness was the best that I could do. I remember everything, things I can't forget. Swimming pools of butterflies that slip right through the net. And I remember every night your ocean eyes of blue. How I miss you in the morning light, like roses miss the dew. I miss you in the morning light, like roses miss the dew.
Thank you all for being here and being online. I'm Paul, I'm Colin's dad. And that was John Prine, the last song he ever recorded before he passed away from COVID earlier this year. But although Colin heard a lot of John Prine songs at our house, I don't know that he ever willingly played one. So here's a little word of advice to you kids. Outlive your parents. We've got Bob Dylan, John Prine, and Bob Marley here. If you don't, they'll play their music at your memorial. But in the theme of remembering everything, we now like people to, if they feel like it, be sharing a brief memory that they have of Colin. I hope there can be some of his humor and laughter, because we've had a lot of tears this week. We've had a lot of laughs too. And to start it off, I'll get things going with a memory that I have of Colin. I don't know if you saw on the slideshow earlier, there was a picture of Colin holding a gigantic roll of tape over his head with a huge smile on his face when he was 4 or 5 years old. And that was one of his favorite presents ever from his beloved Uncle Ed, because the tape was in short supply at our house, because Colin, when he was about 4 years old, decided one day that it was time to wrap presents. So he took every ordinary, mundane, everyday thing you could find, a random left shoe, a broken pencil, 3 weeks later a different random right shoe, the dinosaur figurine that the dogs had chewed the head off of. He would wrap them in newspaper or printer paper, or whatever he could find, and put them in his bedroom closet. And this went on for several months. He literally filled the closet with these presents. And he would just say, it's time for presents. And then one day out of the blue, Colin said, it's time to open presents. And he went to the closet and he took it out and he opened it like he'd never seen it before. And he wanted all his life to go, a broken pencil, a random left shoe, another random right shoe. Oh, the dinosaur dinosaur, the dogs chewed the head off. And you know, I don't want to blow my own horn, but I kind of have a reputation as being a bright guy, quick on the uptake. And this story will only embellish that because as I was thinking of all the thousands of memories, which one to talk about, I realized that it only took me 23 and a half years to figure out the lessons this 4-year-old kid was trying to teach me. And the first is that there are no mundane, ordinary, everyday things, or more mundane, ordinary, everyday moments, because every moment of this life is a gift. And everything that reminds you of those people, that dinosaur that your dad bought you in Target, sure, partly to keep you from screaming in the aisle, partly because he felt guilty about all those nights and weekends at the hospital and he wasn't there, but mostly because he really did love you and wanted to give you things, and that your mother, whose love for you is so immeasurable, there's been no scale invented that could show the magnitude of her love. You lovingly made those mashed potatoes and gravy that you then shoved into the yawning maw of that Tyrannosaurus Rex and put under the table to the dog, who to that point in your life was probably the best friend you ever had, so the dog could eat the mashed potatoes and in the process chew the dinosaur's head off. And that's why those were special gifts. And the second lesson was that it's okay to give yourself a gift. Every now and then, you can wrap something up that's special to you. And someday when you really need it, open that bedroom closet and rip it open. And, you know, if you're a frontline nurse, at the baseline stress of a level 1 trauma center, living through the global pandemic that's taken 500,000 people, it's not only okay for you to open a closet full of presents, it's essential to their self-care, is to take the whole closet full and take care of yourself. Now, I'm screwing this up. There's supposed to be happy memories. So I'll try a mulligan. Everybody's heard about Colin's tattoos. And one of my favorites, you know, he loved Bonnie. One day he came home with a heart over his left chest, right over his heart, with Cupid's arrow through it, and Bonnie through the middle of it. And he said that when he finished it, the tattoo artist looked at him and said, "Oh, dude, this is a beauty. Your lady's gonna love it." Colin looked at the guy and said, "She's my dog." I'll open up that if anyone has a memory they'd like to share.
So, that's a very tough act to follow. My name is Ed, Uncle Ed, today. Just a really important thought in life is, how does a person make you feel? Colin always made me feel great. And
Like he is right now?
yeah. So this is the problem. This is one of the problems. When, you know, love and misery are on such it's a razor edge. They're right next to each other. So when you love somebody, it hurts so bad. Breathe through me. And I remember Colin telling me stories in Eau Claire. And he'd tell me about dinosaurs. And he wouldn't just describe them. He'd tell you a story of what it did and how it moved through the jungle and its teeth and what it would say. He told me stories. This little tiny brilliant little kid. And I knew to listen. And to the end, or the last memory about in your kitchen. And when he'd come home or before he'd go to work, I was making coffee or feeding the dogs and just to hold him. I started like this, and now he was so big. And just to hold him, he always made me feel so good. And it's because and it hurts. I love him. That's my story. Not a happy note.
I guess I can tell another story. This has no profound meaning to be found in it. This was, I don't know if it was right after we watched Swiss Family Robinson or something of that nature, but John and Alex Redmond, our neighbor, and I decided we should dig a big pit and trap Colin in it. And so Colin must have been like 3 or 4 at the time, so I was at least old enough to know that this was probably a bad thing to do. But John and I spent about 2 days digging, and I think we first off underestimated how hard digging a pit is. It was only a few feet deep after a few days of digging. But we were proud of it, and we thought, if we really want this to be effective, we should probably fill it with water, because that's the best way to trap him. We also underestimated how long it would take a hose to fill a pit that was a few feet deep. So after about 10 minutes, we got really bored, so we just had a pit with mud in the bottom of it. And we thought, well, if we really wanted to fall in it, we can't see it. So we attempted to cover it with sticks and leaves so that it was clear, very well disguised. It wasn't. It was very obvious that it was a hole in the ground. So eventually we told Colin to come here. We had to show him something. We led him over to the pit. It wasn't disguised at all, but Colin saw it for what it was and immediately jumped in and started rolling around in the mud. And I don't know if we have a lot of people who are experienced with trying to trap a quarry in a pit, but when it excitedly jumps in, it's really deflating. But that's one way I think of Colin. Anytime there was mud in the backyard, he was rolling around in it, declaring that he was a hyena for some reason. And this was really the first experience with that.
Thank you so much for those of you who shared memories of Colin, including everyone who's reached out to me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and has taken the time to write up memories or things, how Colin made them feel. I've gotten a lot of them, and they really have meant the world. And if you have more, please keep them coming, because we love to laugh about him. He gave us so much to laugh about. I also made a huge ask of everyone yesterday and had people do something to remember Colin today, like random acts of kindness, and to thank nurses in their lives, to which Colin would have said that I was being a total drama queen or a control freak. But I've had a huge outpouring of love. Colin changed the world through his work as a nurse and a friend, but that change doesn't stop because he's not physically here. Today alone, people bought countless coffees for nurses, snuggled their dogs, ate donuts, and told people they loved them out of the blue, all in Colin's honor. And I challenge you to go one step further. Tomorrow, help a stranger. Show them the same compassion that you would show your sister or your best friend. Live so selflessly that people will be left with such a gaping hole when you are gone, that the joy and love you lived with will keep it filled. Right now, I want to filibuster. I want to tell you every story about Colin. I want to read the transcripts of every Rick and Morty and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode ever made, because I don't want this service to end. I'm so scared of what this new life will be like. I'm scared I won't be able to do him justice. I'm scared other people will forget. I'm scared that I'll start to forget. But I have to do exactly what Colin taught me, to be brave, to welcome things that are scary, to take care of myself and others, to go off that next jump, and to get right back up when I inevitably fall. Being Colin's sister is the greatest honor of my entire life. I will never stop striving to live like him. I will never stop trying to make him proud. I will never let people forget about my big brother, which he made so incredibly easy for me, because he is simply unforgettable. Thank you.
everyone who came in person today and those who came via live stream. This concludes our service.